Welcome back to the brand new Cleveland Browns Stadium. What do you think? Isn't it beautiful? And we've been graced with a perfect weather night as we continue to get you ready here on Channel 3 for the Browns and Vikings. The Browns in at 1-1. The Vikings are 0-1. Jim Donovan along with you in the pregame huddle show. Well, we're all so proud that they're back and that they're back in Cleveland. And it took 3 years to get them back. And it took a lot of work to get them back. And it took a brand new stadium to be built too. And it's all been accomplished. But you know who's very proud of the fact that he also helped get them back and convince the NFL owners, let's do it now, that it's not right to have Cleveland without an NFL team? Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. And I sat down and talked about it with him.
Well, you know, I've been through some painful experiences as an outside counsel for the league, seeing the Raiders leave Oakland around the 1980, and see the impact on those fans. And then, you know, we had a court order against us, and then came the Colts move at a time the league's hands were tied by the courts, and then you could see the vacuum that there was in Baltimore after that. So I'd grown up with this in the NFL, and when it happened here in Cleveland, I just knew that we had to do something different. We just couldn't, you know, have the Browns someplace else. It just was a contradiction in terms. So we started talking to the mayor, and Mayor White, you know, he wanted to keep the Browns, but ultimately I think we all saw that there was a solution that was going to be a good one, and now we see the reality of it.
During the process, names, color, and history of the Browns became an important bargaining chip. How hard was that to keep in Cleveland?
Yeah, you know, I had a conversation with Mayor White about that. I had grown up in New Jersey and as a Brooklyn Dodger fan in the 50s, and they had left and gone to Los Angeles. And then I was in Dodger Stadium in L.A. about 3 or 4 years ago, and I saw out there the uniforms of Jackie Robinson and Don Newcomb, all the players, Gil Hodges, who were the Brooklyn Dodgers, and it just something was out of sync, you know. And I said to Mayor White once in our conversations that what we're talking about here is not the color of the helmet. What we're talking about is those people who have been part of the lives of the fans. They're going to be in Cleveland forever as part of the tradition of this team. They're not going to be in Los Angeles or in some other town. And once we kind of brought it down to that concrete level, I think we all realized it was something that could be powerful.
Last year at this time, when we were making our junket around at the various meetings about this, when it was always on the docket, I think at this time we knew it was an expansion team.
Right.
But we didn't have an owner at this time last year. There really were no personnel people here. I mean, this has been put together in a very short amount of time. Can you believe it?
To me, the biggest things were getting the expansion, the stocking plan in place, the way we did it, and to get a plan that's as good as the one as we had for Carolina and Jacksonville. I think that was really a statesman-like decision by the ownership. They saw how quickly those two teams started up. They didn't resent it. They felt it was good for the league. It was good for the fans, so they did it again. I think that was a critical step along the way. Obviously, selecting ownership was a critical step. And with Al Lerner, and then when Al decided to bring Carmen Policy on board, I think that we could begin to see we had a lot to do, but we had the people who could do it, and that's the way it's turned out.
You know, the commissioner told me, you bet I'll be there the night of September 12th. The opener of the regular season on that Sunday night when the Browns take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And these three guys will be there, too. Back down to the field right now to Chuck, Ron, and Tony.
All right, thanks, Jim. You know, it was just 3 years ago. Paul Tagliabue, no doubt, was a hated man in Cleveland. 2 weeks ago in Canton, he was cheered, Tony.
And deservedly so. Don't forget, for 2 years, everyone expected a failed team from another city to be relocated to Cleveland. Paul Tagliabue was the #1 man who pushed through expansion through the other 30 owners. He is not here tonight. His top lieutenant, Roger Goodell, is, and they will both be here on the opener September 12th.
And, Ron, some of the guys who were here for that dark day a few years back when the Browns left Cleveland are going to be on this field again tonight.
3 guys, Chuck. December of 1995, Orlando Brown, a tackle for the Browns. Antonio Langham, a cornerback for the Browns. And someone who's here tonight in a purple uniform, Leroy Horde. All 3 of those guys, Chuck and Tony, we know bleed orange. Even Leroy, even though he's a Viking.
He still does. And the other thing, Orlando Brown will not play because of an elbow injury. Antonio Langham will make his first start of the preseason at right cornerback.
All right, Orlando out, Antonio in, back to Jim.
Well, it's good to see Antonio Langham back in that Browns uniform. I know he's been anxious to get that start, and it's good to see the governor of the state of Ohio, Bob Taft, joining me tonight. Governor, welcome on a very, very special night, a night when this beautiful facility opens up.
What a great day for the people of Ohio, the great day for Cleveland. You know, the Browns are back. Fantastic stadium. I feel very good about this. Really, it's a tribute, though, I think, to the Browns fans that we're here tonight. That
was the first voice, wasn't it, that had to be heard, and that was heard, believe me, around the world, that this is not right. This has to be changed.
That's right. Exactly. If it weren't for the Browns fans putting the heat on the league, I don't think this would have happened. But, you know, the state put some money in this stadium. I feel very good about our investment. It is a beautiful facility to play football.
Governor, that's very important because we got the franchise, but you had to get a brand new facility. The other place had to go. And, of course, then it had to be done on time. Isn't it amazing when you think that you knocked down a facility and then on a tough place to build right on the lakefront, you were able to get this up, get it on time, and get it really to look like a gem?
I think it's a tribute to the team. It's a tribute to the people of Cleveland. We're going to really look forward to seeing a lot of great Browns football. And this really is something not just for Cleveland. You know, we got Browns fans all over the state of Ohio, down at Columbus, Lima, you name it, Browns fans all over the state.
You know, it seems as though, Governor, that this situation has a trickle-down effect. Because when you lose a franchise and then you get one back, other cities say to themselves, you know what, I don't want that to happen to my city. So really, when you go around the NFL now, stadium issues are getting pushed through. Down south, where you're from in Cincinnati, they didn't want to lose the Bengals.
Jim, that's exactly what happened. When they passed the levy for the two new stadiums in Cincinnati, it was really because of what happened here in Cleveland, the Browns. They didn't want that to happen. Of course, Cleveland, you guys are a little ahead of us down there in Cincinnati because you got the two new stadiums. You got Jacobs Field, you got this beautiful stadium, you got Gund Arena. Cleveland is really a major league sports city.
And it is a major league sports city, and I think that's what's so critical because you always think of yourself about the great place that you live, but a lot of people associate that with professional franchises. When you lose one, and when you lose the type of franchise this was to this city and this whole area, I mean, how did you feel downstate and where you were in state government at the time? What did you feel?
Oh, it was just a huge emptiness. I can't imagine Cleveland without the Browns. When I was growing up, we didn't have any pro football in Cincinnati. I followed the Browns, Otto Graham and all those guys. I'm pretty old. And then we had the Bengals-Browns rivalry. No Browns. How can you live without that? That's not Ohio. That's not Cleveland without the Browns.
Are you ready? Can I go off football just for a second here?
Sure.
Are you ready for the possibility in October you could have a Reds-Indians World Series? Wouldn't that be something?
I'm really excited about that. I was up here earlier. I threw out the first ball for one of the games between the Reds and the Indians. I think it's fantastic. If we could have a Reds-Indians World Series, that would be awesome for the state of Ohio.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? It's great to have you here.
Thanks.
Enjoy this special night. One other question I got to ask.
Oh, yeah.
The Vikings, the Browns, you would never get involved in a wrestling match with their governor, will you? Because I understand he's been around the ring a little bit, Jesse the Body Ventura.
He's a pretty good guy. I'm going to work out, though, and try to work up so I can Indian wrestle him or do something to him.
Okay.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jim.
Nice to see you, and thanks for being
My
here.
pleasure.
Governor Bob Taft, the governor of the state of Ohio, and we thank him for being here. We have watched the stadium rise. You've watched it from different vantage points, maybe from your office building around the city of Cleveland. Maybe you've come down on the weekend to drive past it. On our Browns Picture Story tonight, two gentlemen have watched it from a very interesting place, up close on the deck of the USS Cod.
Every time I look at it, I'm filled with intensity. I can't wait for the new season to start, the new Browns. I think we're going to win the Super Bowl right off the bat. Starting to look like a ball field. To see that kind of stadium, especially being built up in the same spot as the old one, it means a lot. It means a lot to the city and the fans. My name's Wally Pawinski, and I'm a Browns fan because since I was 4 or 5 years old, I grew up watching it. To sit down and watch a Cleveland Browns game would be just like combat because the Browns play tough. I'd compare it to the war. The players are going out at each other, the physical contact, the intensity in the air. Because when the defense is out there, it's the defense that makes the big plays to keep the game close. And then we bring out our guns, and that's when we let it loose. Yeah,
like your football team, they're out to win, but like the Warfare, we're out to win.
In terms of the guns, I'd have to say Tim Couch.
He's up there, he's calling the signals. Just like your quarterback is calling the signals, and he tells the men down here what they're going to do and what to prepare for and what kind of a play they're going to run. What really makes it work as an effective weapon is that your commander is like your quarterback and coach.
Bernie Kosar, he'd be another good person in war because he's got a good mind.
You're looking at it, and each guy had to know what the other man was doing. And there wasn't a one-man operation. That one man, just like your team of the Browns, the quarterback cannot do it alone. And one man on the Browns can goof it up, so one man aboard the subs could goof it up.
When I shed tears after that interception, I knew I was a fan.
Todd, during her 7 patrols, she had quite a few touchdowns. If you look at her battle flag, she has quite an impressive war patrol, just like the Browns had quite an impressive record.
I'm going to be overwhelmed when they step out on the field, and what's going to go through my mind, I might even break down crying. There's going to be a lot of excitement. Once we get into a couple of cold weather games and the dog pounds at its best, I think that's the best way to describe a ship. We have to work as one in order to succeed.
Everybody is experiencing what those two gentlemen are waiting to experience here tonight as they all get set to walk into this plush new football palace, the brand new Cleveland Browns Stadium. And the football game tonight might become secondary because they'll walk in just like we walked in years ago to Jacobs Field and Gund Arena, and really you're wide-eyed and you say, this is the place to be tonight. Believe me, this is the place for you to be as we get set to bring to you the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings. Tim Couch gets the start here tonight. Michael Regai and Bob Golick will take you the rest of the way. I'm Jim Donovan on the pregame huddle, and I'll see you after tonight's game on the postgame show. Enjoy the ball game, everybody. Can you feel the glow? It's permeating the air here around Cleveland Browns Stadium in downtown Cleveland as we get set. About a half hour away, actually, of the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. And you've got Browns pregame huddle as you see the orange, the brown, the dominant colors here in this part of Northeast Ohio, probably all over the state of Ohio, as we welcome all of you to Browns pregame huddle. I'm Michael Regai, joined by my partner, Bob Golick. And Bobby, you know, you can't help but think about evoking some memories of the past. So many days in the cold and the snow here on the lakefront. But tonight, I mean, if you don't have a bit of a goosebump right now, maybe we better check people's pulses, huh?
It really is. In this town, we've talked to you about it. Well, you don't have to tell you about it. You know how you've missed this team. You know the emotion that has been attached to missing this team and missing football in Cleveland. And I'll tell you what, just in being here, building up to this season, talking to people, it is just built to this crescendo. Tonight has just absolutely been amazing. In fact, first time I've been here inside the stadium was this morning. And I walked in, and even though, you know, I'm from the old school and played in the old stadium, I can appreciate from looking at it the fans might enjoy this stadium a little bit better.
You've come to the right place if you want to get football flavor. We feel it up here in the booth, and obviously we feel it with 73,000 strong here at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Let's check in with our trio of diligent reporters down on the field as we go to Ronnie Yance, Tony Grossi, the Plain Dealer, and Chuck Galletti. Gentlemen, how you feeling down there?
We're feeling great. I know we are. Michael and Chuck, this week is all about next week. Head coach Chris Palmer has to find out who his starters are on this team. And tonight, Tony, one of the positions he's looking at hard, kicking.
The sands in the hourglass are running out for Phil Dawson and Danny Kite. One of those two may kick themselves right off the team tonight. The Browns have signed Chris Bonio, formerly of Philadelphia. He will not suit up today, but he will be in camp starting Monday, and these guys are in for a run for their lives now. They have not been impressive, and coach is hoping that they kick into shape a little bit.
I like the sands in the hourglass thing. Hey, you know what, though? Let's clear something up right now. Of course, Ty Detmer isn't starting tonight, but he is the starting quarterback on this team.
Both quarterbacks this week were informed of the rest of the preseason and the regular season plans. Ty Detmer will start next week, play 3 quarters, which will be the final serious tune-up for the September 12th opener. Barring anything unforeseen, Ty Detmer will start against Pittsburgh September 12th.
And both quarterbacks are happy to see one guy in uniform tonight, of course, Leslie Shepard.
And guys, how about this? 2 young men from Euclid High School starting tonight when the new Cleveland Browns start in the new stadium. Steve Zahersky, an offensive tackle, will start in place of Orlando Brown for the Browns, and Robert Smith, the tailback for the Minnesota Vikings. Tom Bank is a proud man tonight, the head coach at Euclid. Hey, let's go back up to the old St. Joe guy with Michael Regai.
You're right, Ronnie. Tom Bank, who's got a lot of reason to be proud with Steve Zahersky and Robert Smith, but yeah, how about a young man who grew up on the east side of this city, and then you put on the colors of the St. Joe's Vikings? I know you harbored a lot of thoughts of playing on this turf down here on the lakefront.
Well, you know, they let us play Euclid Stadium, so that was very nice of them when I was at St. Joe's. But getting a chance to come back here and play was just an amazing feeling. And you know what? And this I think will show you not only what the fans feel about this team and about this city, but what players do too. Look at all the, and you know, I hate to harken back to all the old players, but think about all the players from the old teams who came from other cities, other towns, other states, Texas, California, Florida, wherever, that once they retired, stayed here in Cleveland. So that says a lot for this city, a lot for this town, and a lot for football in Cleveland.
You're absolutely right, Bob, and there's so many memories from some gentlemen that are going to pad up and play here tonight because they were on the field the last time that the Cleveland Browns showed up here on this site and played the last game almost 4 years ago in the 1995 season. When we talk about embracing the past, so many memories to be sure. Is there one or two that stick in your mind that stand out as ones that you're never going to forget as we start the new excitement tonight?
The old memories you're talking about? Well,
yeah.
You know, let's put it this way. I'm never going to invite John Elway to any party that I ever throw, unless I want it ruined, because he's ruined us a couple of times. But certainly those games, you know, any of the winter games are nice and cold, and that Jets double overtime was a beautiful win.
Yes, it was sensational to be sure. But speaking of sensational, appropriately tonight, we're in the new Cleveland Browns Stadium, but you know, that invokes so many memories of days gone by like Bob was just talking about. Memories of Cleveland's Municipal Stadium that are forever going to live with all of us as Cleveland Browns fans. Jim Mueller in our Embracing the Past series will take a peek at just that. Jim?
You know, it was Babe Ruth who said that you needed a horse to play the outfield because it was so expansive. For the old stadium, it was all about memories and passionate love for the sports teams.
We're on the threshold of a whole new era in Browns history, but a lot of folks don't want us to forget the Lady on the Lake. Old Municipal Stadium is our focus on this edition of Embracing the Past. While the physical structure of Old Municipal Stadium has long disappeared, the memory of the old Browns will live on in the hearts of fans for a long, long time.
When those new players and new coaches take that field, it's going to be something that, while exciting in its newness, is going to be tied to the tradition that was built on 50 years of some of the greatest football memories of all time.
And those memories are of hard guys with chiseled features, uniforms with ground-in stadium mud, and the contorted faces of some of the greatest gladiators to ever play the game. It's memories of Mickey McBride, the owner of the Browns, sitting on the sideline with injured players. It's heroics from players like Horace Gillen. It's where Hall of Famers earned their stripes. When you look at thousands of old pictures depicting great people and events that passed this way, you have to have a cold, cold heart not to be moved by the images of some legendary figures. Like those of Max Schmeling winning the World Heavyweight Championship in 1931 at the first event in the old stadium. Images of girders that fell, crushing and killing 2 men during construction. Memories of a giant steam shovel breaking ground in 1930. Of demonstrations of this country's military might during World War II. Of a Notre Dame Navy game in 1934. Of fans sitting in the rafters during the 1948 World Series. Of flash crowds like this one in 1959. And images of continuity. A fan in 1940. And fans at the 1976 opening day for the Indians. There was the great soccer player Pele playing in 1968. And some of the greatest rock concerts ever held were on the mangled grass and infield of Municipal Stadium. Indeed, there were a lot of firsts in the old stadium.
The first Monday Night Football game was held here in Cleveland. The networks knew that the shots of a full Cleveland Stadium would be so impressive. And then the first doubleheader.
In that one, Ernie Green played his first game after being traded to the Browns. And Jim Brown was sprung for a 45-yard gain by a guy the Browns were testing in their backfield, Basketball Hall of Famer John Havlicek.
It was a wonderful experience where you felt like, now I am here with the city, and this is my city. And there are national news media here, but I am here to celebrate my city, my team, and my stadium.
Maybe in another 70 years or so, someone will come along and decide this stadium has served its purpose, and they'll tear it down. But for now, let's just enjoy tonight's game and make some new memories.
So many beautiful memories, and no, not just football memories either. Good job, Jim Mueller. Speaking of flavor, what do you say we go to Carol Chandler outside? Carol, are you being engulfed by everything going on in orange and brown?
Absolutely. If there's an embracing of the past, they're ready to embrace the present here. Browns fans are gearing up for this. It does not matter how this team scores tonight because the team has already won. Their fans love it here, and they are getting fired up for the big game. Now, I got to tell you the top seller, Michael and Bob, they cannot keep enough of these. Spielman jerseys, $52 for them, but they cannot keep enough of them here. They are running low. That is the hot seller right out here. Let's send it back up to you, Michael and Bob.
That's beautiful. Can't ask for any better. Carol getting it very much up front with the orange and brown of the dog pound here. As we get back in just a moment with more Browns pregame huddle from the new Cleveland Browns Stadium. Don't move. We're coming right back.